I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Carrie Kirk will now offer a prayer.
Our eternal Father in heaven, we bow our heads and express gratitude for the opportunity we have and the blessing we have of living in this free country. We're grateful for health and strength that allows us to be here, and we're grateful for the opportunity we have to serve this community. We know that we are richly blessed, and we pray that we can unite our resources and our ideas to make Providence an even greater place. We pray that Thou will bless us, that we can have open minds and that we can hear and understand the needs of the residents, that we can know where Thou would have us serve. We pray that we can have clarity of thought and enjoy the service that we render. And we offer this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let's have the council reports now. Anybody want to start first? Okay, Brent Smith.
This is a follow-up from the last meeting on emergency preparedness. And I just want to again reiterate a few dates. I wanted to let you know that in March, starting March 7th, Tuesdays and Thursdays, will be the CERT training. And I have contact information. I think we have it on the website as also, if you're interested. April 20th will be the earthquake shakeout day and communications exercise. This should be somewhat on people's minds right now, since over 40,000 people have just earthquake in Turkey and Iran. And consequently, there are some other training coming up on the 23rd of February at the in North Logan, 1600 East, 2500 North of the church. There will be a earthquake preparations for your home and for your family. Also, we should have, they were trying to get these brochures out to you. So the pink brochures, please, ward leaders, they should be coming to you through the ward leadership as to what to do to prepare yourself for earthquakes and other disasters that could happen in our community.
And those will be distributed to everyone in the community. Not just board
Everybody in the
members.
community gets their hands on one. Oh yeah, there's no, it's just, that was the vehicle we used to get them out into the community. But contact the LDS church. If you're not LDS, get a hold of somebody. They're out there. Just need to get them in the homes.
And we have some here in the office so they can come as well.
Good. Yes. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. At the Cache Valley Hospital, March 29th of this year will be active shooter training. For anybody who's interested in active shooter training, there'll be some training for that. So anyway, we also have on our website local response teams and groups. We have names and who they are, and so we can put like for county hazmat response group, we have a name that can be contacted, and such things as county bomb squad and other things like that. These are on our website, and you can start looking at these things and get a feel for what we have out there on our emergency preparedness. So I just want you to know we're also working very much. Ryan's been working with our ham radio operator. So in the event communication is lost as we know it, there might be other means to be able to communicate. And so we want you to know that the community, the city has a plan, an emergency plan. That plan deals with mostly how the city takes care of its responsibilities: water, sewer, power, police, medical. And then the plans that I'm talking about are more for individual families, households to be prepared. Because let's face it, if you get a catastrophe of major proportions, there's just not enough personnel on a city level to go around to help out. We're going to be helping ourselves. We're going to be working neighbor to neighbor. We're going to be doing things like that. So prepare yourselves, plan to prepare yourselves. We haven't had a catastrophe of that proportion, but we're not immune from it. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeff, I can see that you're like.
Yeah, we were
anxious.
excited to hear about mosquito abatement, so. I went to that meeting and they went over the budget, just a couple of fun numbers to throw out there. They spent $36,000 on the chemicals that they'll be spraying into the air that we breathe. And 40,000 and 40,000.
Can't tell us how he feels about that,
Yeah,
right?
you can. And $40,000 on a couple of drones that they'll use now. So that's exciting.
They're gonna spray for drones?
Yeah, into those hard to get spots, but
Wow.
one of them is
Didn't know they could do that.
ginormous and one's a little bit smaller, but I guess that's exciting. So yeah, 36,000, 40,000. I could talk more about the chemicals, but I'll save that for another day. As far as planning and zoning goes, it sounds like they had a pretty good meeting a week ago or so, whatever it was. Looks like the preliminary plat for Vineyard is moving along smoothly, and I heard there was not much attendance there at that meeting that they were kind of excited about or not, but I think the Planning Commission is doing a great job in overseeing that project, so thank you to them. And I'm just going to get back to working on one of my goals of community network that will represent the people's voice, which should be a very measurable goal. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Janelle?
Looking at my council assignments, the Legislative Policy Committee is meeting weekly in Salt Lake with Utah League of Cities and Towns to track all the bills that are coming through the legislature. They spend a lot of effort down there lobbying on our behalf to try and make sure that there's not negative impacts on cities from the bills that get passed at the state level. But I'm actively tracking 26 bills for my assignments under health, water and sewer, broadband, school safety, and library services. There are a lot of land use bills that the state is working on. Also, one of the things that I think that we talked about that is, it's a lot of state overreach. It's, to me, one of the things that they talked about this last meeting a couple days ago was proposal for a 25-foot road width to be standard across the state in residential areas. And that's just, it's not functional. It's not functional. So a lot of the cities are putting in a lot of effort to educate the legislators that just is not safe to have a 25-foot road width when people park on the street to try and get emergency vehicles through, and to even police the parking to keep it off the street. It's not reasonable, but anyway, we keep tracking those bills and we keep trying to work for reasonable solutions that everybody can live with. So that's kind of a taste of the legislature. And then I met with the vice principal at Spring Creek Middle School to work on getting endorsement letters for grants for the skate park and updating their SNAP plan, which is their safe routes to school. And so I think that's headed in a positive direction. There was a lot of updates that needed to happen there, and worked with the facilities director from the district to get permission to connect sidewalks from like the bathrooms at Zollinger Park clear to the sidewalk at the school district. So kids aren't walking through like mud and ice and muck, trashing the grass and stuff like that. So making progress there. Blacksmith Fork Irrigation Company, we were able to get the notices and the assessment mailed out. They had their annual meeting on Monday night, and I think that went pretty well. President Blinkerman wasn't able to come. He slipped on the ice and broke 7 ribs last week. So that was unfortunate, but he's home and he's recovering. So don't fall on the ice. careful, everybody. Our Healthy Cities application, it's complete, it's ready to be submitted. I've got it signed in front of me, so we're excited to get that turned in. And hopefully we'll get Providence awarded the Healthy Cities designation in April in St. George, so that's exciting. And we're looking for members to people to serve on our library board at the county level. So I serve as the chair for the county library board to make recommendations to the county council for library board members. We're a little sparse on that. So if there's people who are looking for places to serve and help, reach out to me and let me know.
Tell them what the content.
We meet quarterly for like 2 hours at the library, not even 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. And that's about it. So you have to come to a meeting once every 3 months.
So come serve. We need feedback about our library. Serves a lot of young moms here in who take their children and listen to story time, and summertime, like, they're pretty busy. So we'd love to have your service. Carrie?
However much I'm doing, Janelle is always doing more. I did put following the legislature on the list of things that I've been doing, but I'm not actively tracking really any bills. But a few bills have come to my attention. I can't say actively tracking, but a few bills have come to my attention. I've been in touch with Casey, and there's some concerns with state overreach. One of my assignments is to be the youth council liaison, and I quickly became the advisor for the youth council. And so we're going to our day at the legislature on Friday, and we've got, I thought there'd probably be about 10 youth who are interested, but we actually have 16 who have RSVP'd that they're going. So we've rented one van, and I've called every busing company between here and Salt Lake, and with the things that are going on, can't seem to find another van or small bus. So if you know of anyone who would rent us a van for a day, we would love that. If not, we'll be using my car and squishing. Last night, the county had a public hearing for their comprehensive general plan, and I spent some time communicating with Tim Watkins about that because I was concerned about the plan that they were proposing. I don't know how the public hearing went, but I wasn't thrilled with the plan, as I felt like it represents the unincorporated county, but not the other 90% of county taxpayers. But I'm not sure my voice did much good on that, but maybe if we unite and help the county to know that we're all interested in their service, that would be nice. I have been concerned, well, I guess concern's not, I've been interested in creating another fiber video and would love to recruit some help for writing a script. We are not an ISP, so we're not like, it's not our job to market, but it is our job to inform the community about the infrastructure that we're providing. And I think we're ready for another step of information, like what do we do now, and how do I actually take advantage of this infrastructure that's now beginning to exist. So that's going to be a project that I'll work on for the next few months. We have been making some very big decisions about garbage. And so I've actively was doing Jeff's goal, which is a goal of all of ours, just soliciting information from citizens and getting their voice. And I talked to people from at least 12 different households, and it was interesting. Not a single one of them knew there was anything going on with garbage. Not one. And one of the things was like, and I'm seeing some heads shaking out there, like, I had no idea you were making major decisions about garbage. And they wanted to know how they would know, you know, and I talked about the website and the newsletter. And so that is also one of my goals, is
better communication with citizens. And so from these conversations, I have maybe some more ideas. And as we get a new PIO officer going, again, hopefully we can make some adjustments and help people to be more aware. But it also takes like active participation from citizens to be in the loop. And I'm looking forward to getting that new website and getting the new treasurer and PIO, and I think that will be very helpful. That's my report. 60 seconds. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Garbage watch. Boy, that's really puzzling about garbage though. Like, cause
Not a single person.
well, and I was
It's been
looking.
in the newspaper too, so.
Well, that's what I was wondering. It has, I looked at our last few newsletters. It hasn't been in there. Maybe we need to do that, but we've had 3 meetings recently and talked about that topic. And I know it's on tonight's agenda too. So, yeah, that's exciting. Let's see, a few things for me. I attended the Cache County Trails Committee meeting. Actually just had that yesterday. So we have a new trails coordinator. It was a very productive meeting because a very large portion of it was spent talking about relocating the Deer Fence Trail up above Little Baldy subdivision. So I've asked for the city staff to give me a copy of the development agreement between Sand Checkets in that area so I can review that and see what was in there. Paul Gibbons owns some of the land that is east of that would need to be relocated on if it was relocated. And so the Cache County Trails Committee is just sorry, Scarlett, you've got like a puzzled look on your face, which makes you think you're thinking something here. Oh, did you send it yesterday? Oh, I didn't get through yesterday's email. Yeah, thank you. Scarlett has sent it to me already. I just haven't reviewed it. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. No, you did. Sorry. But anyway, we have a number of residents that are concerned about that trail running through their yard and wanting to be able to do their landscaping. And so we have to go ahead and come up with a plan of what's going to happen there. And so we work with the Trails Committee, see if we can figure that out. They also pointed out that there's a CMPO 2050 plan. It's the title for this is Highway and Active Transportation Projects. It's kind of a cool interactive map where you can leave comments on specific areas. Ryan, I'd like to send that to you. Maybe that's something you include in the newsletter so people know where that link is. It's a rather long link, but if they want to give feedback on that plan, that's underway right now. Let's see, we had a gentleman last month who came and talked about the iHelp group. Do you guys remember that? So they had an open house, allegedly, or he said there was an open house for that. And I tried to go to that last month and nobody was there and the number wasn't working on his card. And so if anybody else has any contact there, the website still seems to be active and they say they're doing that fun run on the 29th, but it's pretty dark and quiet. And so I'm hoping that that organization is still moving along. I really like their mission and what they're doing.
They were just in here the other day
Oh, were they?
doing the
Good.
parking on it. So.
Okay, glad to hear that. And then just for work, I was down in the state capitol last Friday for Utah Outdoor Recreation Day on the Hill. I didn't see Casey down there, but I met a few other representatives from the state and got to talk to them about recreation in Cache Valley and what we want to do up here. Ryan and I met once between the last council meetings on the garbage plan, some details on that, and I think we'll review some of those updates and changes there. I haven't heard from any citizens this month, except for some people. Few people have been prodding me or asking me whether or not I was going to rerun for office because I guess we're supposed to throw our names in the hat in March. So Carrie did a really nice job kind of announcing her candidacy last month, and she did a good job with that. I will plan to run for re-election like she will. There you go, Kathleen. Get some pressure. Yes, I'm happy to do it. And here's the reason why is I just feel, we certainly have a lot of council members that are able to devote more time to their position than I am. Janelle has been able to do that. And Carrie, has planned some wonderful, fantastic community engagement events. I kind of take as my most important responsibility is just studying the issues and making really good votes. And we try to make some good ones this year. And I'm proud of the way that we voted. And I think the the city's in a lot better place because of what we've done as a council and my part over that over the last 4 years. And would love to see that continue. Our roads have never been in better shape. Our services have been better. I think we have better transparency and communication with our residents. And I think we've made a lot of good decisions. So I'd like to be able to continue to do that and join this council, which I think is working really, really well together. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Just a quick report from me. If you realize, I don't know if you've heard this, but our legislature is dealing with 1,500 new bills. Does that just blow you away? Do we need 1,500 more laws? I don't know. I'm a little discouraged at how many bills there are that our legislators are dealing with, and there are lots of issues that they should be dealing with that are very important to all of us. So if you have a chance or talk to a legislator, just ask them why we have so many bills. Several, both Carrie and Janelle have talked about the bills that are affecting the city. There are over 100 that just affect cities, the Utah League of Cities and Towns. They are an organization that helps us, all of the cities in the state of Utah, and they are trying to stay at the table and make sure that some of the bills that they pass are not overreaching and getting in our business. The state doesn't like it when the federal government steps into their business and tells them how to do their jobs, and we don't like it when the state steps in and makes a rule. And it's not one size fits all. All cities are different, and we have lots of issues that we handle differently than River Heights or Logan or Amalga or any of those cities. The things that we're dealing with are different in many ways. Now, there are some things that are similar, but I've been serving and going down to the Utah League of Cities and Towns. Janelle and I have gone down and put in a word for the city of Providence about the things that we are concerned about. The Council of Governments, the COG, we had a meeting a couple of days ago, and all of the mayors were in that, and we all have some concerns about some of the bills at the legislature. So we talked about those, and then yesterday we had a Zoom call with Cameron Deal, who is the CEO over Utah League of Cities and Towns, that expressed again our concerns about the bills that are up 25-foot road. There are some limits that they're putting on what we do, and we feel like there's a lot of pressure on legislators from people who would profit from getting the cities out of the planning business, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen, because we want to be able to have it come through here so that we can make sure the right decisions are made. I serve on the chamber board. I'm appointed by the governor to serve on the Land Conservancy Board. I'm currently the chair of that committee. The Lee Ray McAllister money that is used to conserve open and green space. And so that's an interesting committee, but it's a statewide committee. And as part of the chamber, I meet on 2 other committees that have to do with legislative issues. So keeps us all busy trying to do the business of the city and trying to keep things moving down the path the way our citizens have asked us to do. So we will close that portion of the meeting now, and I will entertain a motion on the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes. January 18th.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any feedback?
I sent some minor corrections to Ty.
Okay. Great. Any other? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have an opportunity for those of you that are here to provide public comment on anything that's within our purview and is not related to an item on our agenda. So if anyone has anything they'd like to say, we have an open mic. Okay, come on up. I just want to remind everyone we take compliments as well.
My name is Kendall Pace, and I do appreciate the time you put in, and I don't believe you get paid enough for what you do for the time that you put in by any means. But I do appreciate all the time that's put in by the council because I know it's a lot. This is not on the agenda, but I thought maybe it would be on the agenda tonight, so I thought maybe I'd throw it out tonight anyway. I did receive a letter, so did my neighbors receive a letter from the county regarding the parcel. I know it's 0022 at the end, but it's a 10-acre parcel that's owned by Providence 10 LLC. It butts up to Garden Drive. It's between 330 West and the State University's Ag Center.
It would have been expected. It didn't come in time to meet this agenda, so it'll be on the
So that we
next.
could notice it in the paper, so.
So it will be on the next one.
I
So,
figured it
yeah.
was pushing it down. But I just wanted to bring it up now. They did have to talk to several of the neighbors and residents about that particular parcel. And I did talk to the county that sent the letter. I don't remember his name offhand, but the plan is to annex it or to propose an annexation and to zone it a multi-MDX, but I think that zoning designation has changed now, but I'm not sure if that much changed or not. So I don't know what the correct designation is for that, but their proposal is also to come in with multifamily into that area there. And it just doesn't really fit that spot. And that's been talked about several times prior to this for multifamily. Because it's up against residential and then it's up against the ag center or the agricultural, Utah State agricultural area or acreage. So if annexation is to proceed, and we have an opportunity as a city and you as a council to plan this or at least do this right so that we don't end up with more multifamilies in that area. So if we're going to annex it, let's do it right and annex the right zoning with it at the time so that we don't find ourselves regretting what's put in there after the fact. The MDX zoning just doesn't fit that area at all. And if that's the way it's going to start looking, then I know we're going to have a lot of neighbors involved in this meeting and petitions and other things because they just don't want that. We don't want that. What would be better served over to be residential single family homes, which that's what's over there now in that area. Come in there with multifamilies, we're going to have the same issues we've talked about before, and that's traffic. It's going to be a problem with traffic in that area. There's just one way in right now and no way out. So there's a lot of traffic in that area. Not to mention schools and all the other things that everybody brings up every time when we talk about multifamily, but all those are very valid reasons not to put it in there. And it just doesn't fit that spot. It would decrease the property values for those who live there now. I think I know that this discussion was about a year or so ago when somebody did analysis of multifamily or apartments or condos, but you know what it does to property values that are within a certain radius. So the neighbors and the residents and the citizens of this city really don't want that. And they're going to get active if that is the way it's go down. So annexation is not such a resistance so much. It's just what we're going to end up zoning it for. Is where we're going to take a hard look at that. And I think that's coming up as a preliminary on the next agenda, starting with the city council, and then it goes to the planning commission after that, the public hearing, and all the other things that happen at that point.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob Washburn, Providence. I just want to say thank you for a couple of things. I appreciated the newsletter that said to help out with snow removal, kind of go beyond your driveway. give a little space for some snow storage. I was doing that one day, and the plow driver came by and saw I was doing that, and I figured he'd turn around and come back and just fill me in. But he came along and came against traffic and turned his plow and just moved things beyond.
He helped you out.
Helped me out. I mean, he didn't fill me in at all, or any of my neighbors. I thought it was really great. So I feel like they've really been doing a good job, and especially noticing that where citizens are trying to help them out, they help out. Plus, he waved because
They're good guys.
They are great guys.
So yeah, I just wanted to say thanks. I feel like they've done a great job. It's been a big year for snow.
Their boss is right there.
Thanks.
No, it's Rod. We like to hear that because we do have a great crew of gentlemen who take care of that. We appreciate what they do. Thank you. We love thank yous. We love thank yous. Okay. Do we have anything online? Any comments that people wanted to make for?
We have one for an agenda item.
Okay.
But I don't have.
But
any
nothing
agenda.
generic. Okay. All right. I will close that part, the public comment, and open public hearing. We had Cheryl Goody from the Family Place who was scheduled to come tonight, and she ran into some issues and asked if she could come to another meeting, and so we will do that. The Family Place is here in Logan. It's on, it's north of 50 on 2nd West, and they do an awesome job, and she tells a great story about some of the things that they've done. And I was looking forward to having her come and share that with the council and with the people that are here. So we will be having her come at another point in time. I'll close that portion and we'll go to resolution and ordinances. We have the Providence City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on ordinance 01-2023, an ordinance approving the application and authorizing the rezoning of parcel 02-092-0018 located in the general area of 291 North, 100 East. Providence. Approval of the application will rezone parcel R-1-12 to R-1-6. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on February 8th on a motion to recommend to City Council that they deny the rezone. So that being said, Scarlett, do you want to talk about this item for us?
Okay, we are following the steps for a rezone. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing. They are the recommending body, and they did make a recommendation after receiving input from the public. The council can certainly, if it's a public meeting, it's not a public hearing, but the council can certainly take feedback on this. I do know the one comment that we did get in by email is on this particular item. There are a couple of differences between an R-112 and an R-1-6 zone, and those are in the staff report that was attached to the agenda packet. But I'll just hit a couple that seem to be, many of the uses are very similar. R-1-6 cannot have large animals, where an R-112 could, but even in R-112, just because it says that they can have large animals doesn't mean they would have enough. If they situate their home and stuff on their lot in such a way that they can't have enough open space to accommodate the animals, they can't have them anyway. So, but R-1-6 can't have large animals. As far as the lot size and the square footage of things, that's where the differences are. In an R-112, the minimum lot size is 12,000 square feet, and the minimum lot width, excuse me, is 95 feet. In an R-1-6, the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet and the minimum lot width is 60 feet. There's R112. You can have 3.75 units per net acre. In an R16, you can have 5.5. Thing that's kind of interesting, if you do the math, you could probably mathematically get more homes. But back 20 years ago, or whenever it was that the Planning Commission put those smaller zones in, they still did not want more than 5.5 units per acre, so they capped it at that. So sometimes people get confused because the math doesn't exactly work with the ordinance, but we go with the ordinance. So the other thing that there's a difference on, there's a little bit difference on setbacks. In an R112, on a side yard between neighbors, we call that an interior side yard. In an R112, it's 10 feet. In an R16, it's 7.5 feet. If it's a street side yard, in an R112, it's 20 feet. In an R16, it's 15 feet. Both have the same setback for a front yard and the same setback for a backyard. And it's important to remember that our setbacks are measured from property line, not necessarily from sidewalk or from asphalt or things like that. They're measured from the property lines. They're both of the zones allow attached accessory buildings. The height requirements are the same, a little bit different on the attached accessory building. In an R112, the detached accessory building needs to be 30 feet back. In an R1 from the front, has to have a front setback of 30 feet. In an R16, it has to have a front setback of a minimum of 25 feet. And again, these are minimums. They can choose to set back further, but not less. And then everything else is pretty much the same as far as area regulations goes. As far as this piece of property goes, an R112 probably do 3 homes, an R16 probably get 5. Not necessarily a given though, because until we have a zone in place, we can't look at a plan and see how streets and driveways and things will work. So that's just an approximate. It's not guaranteed. Any questions?
I ask how much property is usually dedicated towards roads of the person.
It depends if it's big enough that it needs a public road. If you're looking at a parcel that's going to need public roads rather than utilize a private driveway to serve 2 homes, then you would have to be looking at a 66-foot right of way. And I don't know, Danny could help us out a little bit. Danny McFarland, he's a developer, but generally I think they think about 25 to 30% of the property will go in infrastructure. There you go.
And is there a number of homes that are allowed to be served on a private driveway?
2. In our ordinance, we allow 2.
What is the frontage of this property on 100 East?
The existing parcel out.
Existing parcel, what frontage does this have on 100 East? What's the length of the parcel?
Shoot, I don't think I have the legal description
Is it
in my
about
report.
Do you have that, Danny?
Like 205, I don't remember, it's over 200.
So if you put 3 homes along that street, that'd be 180 and a 25-foot road. Is that what you're proposing? Private lane going in there, and that would give you your 205.
I have a render, I can, when I come up, I can show you what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I was just curious what the zoning is of the 55 plus to the north and
It's
that
this.
other subdivision to the west.
It's the same zoning. The 55 plus is, we called it a little bit different when that came through, but it's R16 and Brookside, which is
Brookside is to the west.
Brookside is to the
North,
north.
the-
Oh, the west,
Okay.
that's actually multifamily. That's
I'm
the,
just curious what they were.
Yes,
To
that's-
the west and to the north.
the west is the retirement center. And then the homes that, they're twin homes, I believe, Brent.
That butt up to that
Yeah.
property, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's
In the Mountain
multifamily
View.
twin homes, yeah.
Yes, and they are that's multifamily medium. So where the retirement center is and those twin homes, or excuse me, multifamily 7, RM7. I'm sorry, I'm still getting the newer things.
That power.
And then the Brookside development, that's a little bit to the north and then on the east, that one is R16 as well. So.
To the east,
Up here,
Isn't it
no,
to the
to
east?
the north and west.
north and east.
North and east.
North and east,
This up here.
yeah.
So the brown is R16, correct?
Right. These are R16, this is R16,
And the light tan is,
R112.
Like, yes, I went first. Sorry, right.
so the stuff to,
And this piece of property is right where Ryan's got the blue line between the green arrows. That's the part of this property.
so the brown is to the north? Is that how that's positioned?
Yes, the ground is to the north.
Okay. So to the north and east, it's R16.
Mhm. So the homes that are going in the R16, where Ryan just put the cursor, the ones directly north, that developer's proposed a single level slab on grade. The homes in the Brookside development, they chose to allow basements and all kinds of attractive homes and things. So the only thing that we have as far as a minimum home size in Providence is that it has to be at least 10 feet high. The height of a primary residential structure has to be at least 10 feet. But we don't say that it has to have a minimum of 1,200 square feet or anything like that. Many HOA associations will create minimums or certain standards, but Providence does not have that.
It used to be, unless it's changed, that the building code had a minimum square foot.
The minimum, they may well do, but in
I
our
can't
city code,
remember. I don't know. It was around 900.
in our city code, we don't call out a minimum square footage, but we do call out a minimum height.
Okay. We'll make you get up again, probably, if you have questions.
Thank you.
Ty, do we have a comment on this?
Comment came in via email from Emily Watterson. I hope the council follows the planning commission's recommendation to deny the rezone. I understand the need for smaller lots and therefore a more affordable housing option. I also feel that too many small lots and houses will cause problems in the future. These lots and housing options are appealing to young couples and older retirement age individuals. They may not be as appealing to long-term families. We are slowly building city out of family-sized lots and homes. Larger lots can allow for smaller homes to be built and expanded on. Smaller lots will not allow for this. Also, as there isn't a plan shown with the agenda, I'm concerned with how the lots will fit given lot regulations and fire requirements. The reason this is a concern now is because I have been told that, generally speaking, approval is given in later stages unless valid. Safety and legal issues are cited. Sadly, this does not account for it. This is a smart and workable idea for the future citizens. There are many parts of the city where if this question had been asked, we wouldn't have as many issues when generating and following master plans.
Thank you, Ty. I will allow comment from the citizens in here. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. So Ty, would you time, please? Oh, 2 minutes total for everyone. No, 2 minutes each.
My name is Todd Hammond. I want to thank you for letting me be able to address the council, and I appreciate the planning's recommendation to deny this. Even though we're kind of looking at, well, we got that 55 development, but to me, this parcel is south of that. It was an established part of town. It's an established lot. It's 12,000 square feet, and it's in the old part of town. And I think it needs to stay as a 12,000 square foot lot and not be changed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, she's ready.
I'm Diane Siegfried and I live on 61 East 200 North. What was the actual detail provided to you from your planning commission with regard to their denial?
Well, they had all the same information that we get. And so
Is your question, you're wondering what the reasons for the denial were?
Well, having been here that evening, having spoken twice towards it, but what I haven't heard yet discussed was some of the concerns expressed by the residents who live in the historic part of that neighborhood. Have you heard those
I haven't
concerns?
since I sat down and watched the planning commission.
I just have, all I've heard was what the regulations are for changing one zone to another, but I'm not hearing what the community shared with you. And so I just wanted to make sure you had heard from us as well, why we made our comments.
it's online and we can all take advantage of watching that. So
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Okay. Because I would say the same things that I did then.
okay,
We are in a historic part of the neighborhood. I've been a resident for over 40 years. I would like to see my neighborhood remain the same.
okay. Thank you.
We make a practice for our homework of listening to the public hearings so that we have the information that the public is sharing.
Parking, right? Parking was one of the issues.
My name is Caroline Mayo. Hendricks is my maiden name. That's the land that's the big L on there. And I would like to say that I support the motion of denying it as well, because the neighborhood in that area appreciates having elbow room between neighbors. We can have our blinds open for the daylight and not see other people living in their own house. And when you drive through the vineyard and through Brookside Village and all those homes are so crowded, and then you come into our neighborhood and we're able to come home, it's just a breath of fresh air to be able to have our elbow room between neighbors and be able to listen to kids playing in their fenced backyards or unfenced backyards and playing together and having relationships because they have the room for that. So if there is so many houses built in that one lot, a concern is that it's just going to be too crowded. You can't put a house in the ocean and call it a boat. High density housing in that area just is not a good fit for the street. And we have built up so much in the area. The vineyard has been built, the 55+ community is going to be built, and Brookside is still being worked on as well. And so I just hope that our 100 East Street, that little block of it, is able to be left for families who appreciate their land and being able to share their produce together because they have room for gardens and be able to have backyard barbecues with the privacy of their own home because they have space for that. But with such a big development, 4 houses going back there, it just would completely change that area. There are only 4 houses on that whole stride of the street. And to put 4 houses, a 5th, including the Leonhardt home, I mean, that's doubling that size of the street with the population.
And you live where?
I live 270 North. Yep, that cursor is correct. The big L.
Right to the east.
Across the street.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right across it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Neil Varner. I live just on the south side of that property at 285 North. When we were at the meeting last week, we said that, and I go along with that, that those houses just do not fit. There is not enough room, and the roadway that would go in there just goes in and makes an L, and be extremely hard for a fire truck to get in there or an ambulance even, and there's no place to turn around. We bought our properties to raise chickens and other things we want, but one other little thing that wasn't mentioned last week is on this property, there are some rare type trees. one of them being Norway spruce. There's a Colorado blue spruce. There's a white fir and a maritime pine, which is normally found in Central and Southern Europe and in North Africa. And in those trees are some red-tailed hawk nests. And if they cut those trees down, that would be a shame, especially as those trees were planted years and years and years ago, and there's very little around this whole county that has those type of trees. So I think that, and I agree that after seeing the width of the road and the roadway that we have in front of our houses, other houses in there just wouldn't fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No?
I was at the Al Hanson. I live on the corner of First East and Second North. What used to be the asphalt home. I'm also in favor of the recommendation that the Planning Commission made. I wasn't real familiar with how that was all set up, so I walked down there the other day to see, what it looks like. Now, maybe Danny can answer this. Is the Lenhart house that's there now, is that going to stay there or is that going to tear down? The old house, okay. So it's just the rest of the property around it then. Okay. Well, to me, to rezone what's less than an acre of property and try and put 5 homes on it, to me, just doesn't make any sense. It's in a residential area with residential homes. It's not designed for a lot of homes on that small of a piece of property. I think it's pretty well understood by most that we don't want it. It's just plain and simple. So we hope that, at least I do, that the council will listen to the citizens and consider everything carefully. But to me, what they want to put in there just doesn't fit in that neighborhood. And so please give it careful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Hal. Okay, anyone else?
My watch told me it's time to stand. So I'm standing. I'm Karen Goins. I'm on 46 East, 200 North. And I just have to say ditto to everybody who stood up here. I just don't think it's a place to rezone. If this was happening in your backyards, I think you would feel the same. So I have to just say ditto to every comment today. I stand behind it.
Thank you. Okay. Any more comments?
Forgot to add, my name is Carolyn Mayo. There's a trailer on the north side of the lot, and that trailer could be removed and a house could be built there. All of our homes, I know we're talking about the development, and I know that doesn't help the developer if it's just one house. But if, I'm not against progress. I think a house being built there on the north side of the lot on the same zoning, 12,000 square feet, it would fit there. And all of our homes have been built one at a time as well. So I'm not against progress. I understand that more people need homes and one home could be built there. But for 4 homes to be built there, that's just too many.
Okay. Okay. I am going to close the sure. Only one. No.
I'm Sue Varner and I live at 285 North 100 East. My concern is the water. That land is like a swamp. And I know right now they're having trouble down there with the little condos or whatever they're building in there. In fact, they told the gentleman that owned the home before that they wanted to charge him $5,000 a day because he kept flooding that land and his workers couldn't work. I have seen I don't know how many truckloads of dirt and rocks they have hauled down into that land, and it keeps sinking. It's a swampland. It wasn't made to hold tons and tons of houses. And I bought into that area because I love the land. I love the community. But to try and cram 4 more homes in there destroys it. There's really no place for the kids to play. I was sitting trying to look at that driveway and think, if I had somebody, and I lived in one of the back houses, and I had company come, where do they park? If I've got to, because most of their storage is going to go into the garage, because that's what a lot of people do there. So they're going to have their little driveway there with cars in it. Where's everybody going to park? Because that road isn't big enough. And I hear the ambulances going into the assisted living behind me and they've got pretty wide streets. There is no way with that driveway they can pull it. They couldn't pull a fire truck down it. They would have to manually take their hoses down it.
Okay, well, tonight we're not considering what is actually going to go on there. We're considering whether or not we would be willing to change the zone for smaller lots. But when we do rezones, people don't bring a concept plan to us. All we're talking about, should we make those smaller lots? And so you're referring to a concept, but it hasn't been to the city to be signed off.
Well, he just showed us his design.
I understand
The way
that.
It just doesn't fit.
But tonight we're just considering whether or not we should put that kind of a zone on that piece of property. So thank you. Okay, I will close that portion. And Danny, would you like to share anything with us?
Can I share my render with the council, or is that off limits?
Well, we're just looking at whether or not it makes sense to make that. And then the planning commission will look at your preliminary plan. Should we change that, or maybe your preliminary plan would be different if we decide not to change it?
Yeah,
So,
it might. The planning commission just requested that I do a render, so I have a copy if you want it. If not, that's okay.
I think the render's helpful to get an idea of what it really possibly, how it really possibly could work.
I need the mayor's permission.
Right. I'm just saying that to the mayor.
And just keep in mind that even if it is a rendering, it doesn't actually yet meet the code and hasn't gone through. I just, all the little small print.
I personally like this style, because sometimes we render and you're looking at something that's.
well, we start talking about what you could do differently. We start talking about how you could change it to make it fit. And that's not our job. Our job is to look at what you want it to be zoned as and what we feel like would fit in that area. You know, we've taken some of the citizens' information.
Sure.
So let's try it this way. Just talk about what you want to do, why you want to do it, and what advantage is it to the city of Providence.
Sounds
to do
great.
that.
So yeah, I've done a number of different types of development here in Providence, from commercial buildings to townhomes, single family lots, and I think affordability is always at the back of my mind. So trying to find product that's affordable. I have 4 kids. Many people in here have kids, and I'd love my kids to live here someday. I'm not saying this is the piece they're going to live on, but these would be 1,400 square foot single family homes, 2-car garage, 2-car driveway. They meet parking requirements just like every other house in Providence.
Slab on grade, or
slab on grade. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2.5 bath actually. We think we can build these for $275,000 to $300,000, which is like a price point that doesn't exist in Providence anywhere other than a multifamily project. So yeah, this is an experiment for me. So I want to try it because I think that it's a market that doesn't exist. And I told this story last week when I was here. My son and I, we drove back east, and our family, all of the family went back. And if you want stuff to stay the same and go live in the Midwest where everything's dying, And that's what you do, and your lot stays the same size and nobody moves in. But Providence is growing and prices are increasing, and we need to provide different product types for people. And that's the purpose of this rezone. Just some of the things that have been mentioned last week, you know, as far as, you know, Mrs. Varner that said that there's water issues. This would be a slab on grade. I think she's referring to the 55 plus that's having issues with stuff sinking out of sight. This is a different piece. You know, the irrigation water would be piped through. There, as far as parking goes, like we meet all the requirements of the city. I mean, every house would have a 2-car garage plus 2 parking stalls in the driveway. We just do a quality product, just like we have, you know, emergency vehicles. The driveway would meet the criteria of the fire code, just like we're required to have it meet on other projects. And yeah, I think overall, just, you know, I think infill development is a good thing for the city, you know, for the city benefits, you know, utilizing multiple connections to the same section of street. It's a cost-effective way to provide housing, and, you know, nobody wants it multifamily. I mean, I guarantee every time someone proposes multifamily here, you hear just that gentleman in the back, same thing. It's like a broken record. And so where do we put it? What do we do? Like, if you don't like multifamily, you don't like little houses. Yeah, I mean, we can't stay the same forever. And so that's I guess that's my pitch. So any questions?
Just one. I'm looking at the GIS and I'm probably mistaken. I thought you did another lot subdivision across from Zollinger at some point in time. Did you
across from
east of Zollinger? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah.
What do you recall the specifics of what you subdivided there?
I
thought it was analogous to this, but it looks different.
It's similar, but it's R112. So it's right there at the corner of 100 North and 2nd West. So there's the old home, white home.
Yeah, that's what I'm recalling. And,
yeah.
So
yep.
And so that was granted. I think that subdivision or rezone wasn't it?
Well, that was already zoned correctly.
That was already zoned that way. Okay. Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think if it was comparable to what you're asking.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's been discussed, but I mean, to the north, really to the north, to the west, and portions of the east have a real similar R16. I mean, I know it's multifamily to the west, but it's more dense than R16. It's RM7, I think. So, yeah, that was the mindset on the zoning.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, my opinion on this is, you know, I think your request as a developer for me is reasonable, considering that you're looking at something on the boundaries and trying to match those up. But I go back to, I mean, I was on the planning commission for 2 years when we put the general plan together. We spent a lot of time on it and picked the zoning. And we have so many times just not followed that and deviated from the general plan. And there's a reason we did it. The planning commission has made a recommendation. So for me, a developer, even though the request is reasonable, there has to be like overwhelming compelling evidence to go ahead and change the zone from the general plan. And so, I mean, just signaling to my council members, I just can't support this one for that reason.
Okay.
So, but I think your request, I understand your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else have a comment, question?
I have a comment, don't necessarily have a question. I can do that now.
I can
Okay,
sit down
well,
if you're done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
As I look at this piece of property, there seems to be a natural boundary between R16 and R112. As we look at that would be 3rd North. And it seems to me that I looked at the general plan, studied the general plan, and there was a lot went into that general plan, public hearings, notifications, letting people know. And just because a piece of property happens to become available, in my mind, doesn't mean that we have to then decide now it's time to pack the houses in. There's several pieces of property. I look at Willis Linhart property, may not know where that's at. It's on Center Street and 2nd East. came in and bought the lot on the size that it was already and kept it that way. They liked it. They liked the home and the lot. I think there's people out there that would love to have an acre in Providence, in the area where you're at. Has water rights, they can grow a garden. If they kept the old home, they could probably have a horse or cow or pigs, like have pigs, chickens. No pigs. Well, okay, have pigs. Anyway, it's an opportunity that's disappearing from the Providence scene, is to have a parcel of ground that you can live on, enjoy, have elbow room, and that sort of thing. And Danny is a great builder. He's done a lot of good jobs in Providence. And on the Stan Checkett's area, and like I say, from around Zonge and that, I have a lot of respect for Danny and what he does. But there again, I just have a feel that sometimes we lose the perception that the general plan has to guide and manage growth in a way that preserves the natural scenery. I think sometimes we want to pack them in tight enough. In the initiative, key initiative, sense of place, it talks about historic areas of town. And this, Ollie Linhart's been there long time now. He's long been gone. I knew Ollie, but he's long been gone. Now his son has passed away. But I really believe there's somebody out there that would love to have an acre of ground and have a historic position in Providence. I think there is somebody there. Another thing, it says, retain open spaces and scenic views that contribute to the character of Providence. Some summer night, late in the evening as the sun is setting, you need to drive down 100 East to about 3rd North and take a gander to the west and watch that sunset. It is beautiful, breathtaking. And then you watch that sun move up the mountainside. You don't even have to move your car. Just watch it move up the mountainside right from where you're at on 3rd East or 3rd North, and you watch that sun go up that hill. That's pristine. We don't get that all the time anymore. And so, Danny, as much as I respect you and I appreciate what you've done, I really think that I too would have to stick with the general plan, the recommendation of the Planning Commission, that it remain R112.
That's a question. If that parcel was subdivided in the current zoning that it has, would it require like curb gutter sidewalk?
I don't remember if it requires curb and gutter on 100 East, but it does require sidewalk. I know that for sure. I think it does require curb and gutter because there's curb and gutter on the other side. So, but yes, they would have to improve. It might even require some addition to the asphalt. I don't know how much asphalt's there because we're not looking at any of that type of thing. That's why I have to appreciate the mayor and Josh's viewpoint on that. Because we're not looking at does what they're talking about meet the code. But even in single family, I think it's important to know that this property can be subdivided. Even in single family or even in R112, there's enough property there to probably put 2 more homes there. So I think I just want people to not get the idea that if we don't change that if we leave it the same, the property will stay the same. It may not stay the same at all. But I don't know for sure, Janelle. He would probably have to, or whoever develops that would probably have to increase the asphalt width on the west side of the road and
to match the profile that's probably.
Yeah.
Scarlett?
Yeah.
Having only 205 feet frontage on 100 East and 95-foot frontage required in an R112, there could only be 2 lots put on there unless you build another road somewhere, because you've got to have 95 feet frontage.
Or access to
that flag lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put a flag lot, but that if somebody's interested, with what I was speaking to, if someone's interested in a larger parcel, then their intent would probably be to keep it a larger parcel, possibly one subdivision, but they'd have to have 90 feet front, 5 feet frontage.
Yes, you'd have to have 95, you have to have a lot width of 95 feet. And so, or if your lot is back behind, you have to have access to a right of way. So that's why you could put, I don't know for sure, because I don't know the relationship of the existing home to each side, but you could probably put another home to the north that was suggested perhaps, and then maybe down the south side would be where you'd give them the easement to go back and maybe put one in the back. That would probably meet our ordinance. So, but there's a lot of things that we would look at in those type of situations to make sure that there was adequate fire coverage and things like that. So as both Mayor and Josh stated, this is just looking at the zoning. But I did want people to understand that in SFT or in R112, you could put at least one other home and probably two.
At least one.
Yeah.
Without knowing the design, at least one.
Yeah.
Scarlett, you just bring up a good point. An aside, can we submit to the county so they can change the zoning designations on their GIS?
Yeah, we can take care of that.
Okay, yeah. Just because it gets confusing.
Sue's confused.
Just me.
I'm not admitting to that at all.
Did that take care of it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call for a motion.
I just have a statement. So I think that infill is eventually inevitable. As population growth comes, I think it's inevitable. I like having a variety of options. Actually, and I like having it, I'm up against zones that are similar. So if there were no other recommendations, I would look at this and be like, it makes sense. Infill's inevitable, that we're missing these options in Providence. Only once in the last 3 years have I lost sleep about a vote and wondered if I should have voted differently. And it was against the general plan and against a planning commission recommendation. And so, if without a general plan and without a recommendation, I'd be like, makes perfect sense. But because of those things, I feel like the message needs to be clear that we stick as close to our general plan as possible. And as we go through the general plan again in 5 or 10 years, I hope every citizen will take a look, because that general plan will dictate most of the decisions that are made on the council.
We have a general plan for a reason.
Yeah, even though I look at this and I'm like, sure, there's no problem with that. But, we need it. It's needed.
Okay. All right.
I was just gonna say that I don't know Danny, but I heard a lot of good things about him and his work in the planning commission, so keep up the good work. And kind of feel like the subdivision to the north of you is gonna create some busyness on your street, but anyway, good luck with that.
Okay, I'll call for a vote.
Oh, we gotta make a motion.
Oh, I'll call for a motion.
There
I
we
just
go.
said the wrong word. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we adopt with the recommendation of the planning commission, and that is to deny the rezone of this parcel of property.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You're welcome.
There's more things to say.
You're welcome
You
to stay.
don't have to leave.
We love citizens.
There's some garbage discussion coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna talk garbage.
Garbage.
We're gonna have garbage talk. Trash talk.
I just want to make sure we're on the fun. 3 years.
Carrie, this is why they don't know about the garbage. We can have a great discussion about garbage. Would love to.
People that are in my car. Unfortunately, I would like to hear it. And
They're welcome to.
Watch it later.
They're welcome to. You can watch it live.
We live stream it. You're welcome to watch it later.
Thank you for listening to this consideration. No, it's not simple, it's a complex issue. We appreciate the consideration.
And the next time we do a general plan, be sure that you're involved.
Because I'm one of those, like what Brett has said, I have a half acre. I wanted a half acre. So I don't want, I moved from Dallas 40 years ago. I know what a metroplex is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, send more on the garbage in the letter that you send out with the bill, because that's what I think most of us.
Just don't throw it away. The garbage.
Read it first.
Read that. No, I do, but
Okay.
I somehow I've missed this.
It hasn't been on there.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 4. The Providence City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on a resolution appointing a new city manager.
No.
Excuse me.
I'd like to stay. Hold on. I'd like to stay.
You're here for your own team.
I'd like to stay. You may go. Yeah. We're gonna have to cut that.
I think I heard his heart drop.
I just was wondering if you were listening, Ryan.
Oh, I listen for that every week.
Okay. So we have Megan McCuistion. It's McCuistion, McCuistion. So, Megan, why don't you stand up and give us a little information while you're coming up? I'll tell the group that we interviewed Megan, and it was Diane Campbell, our HR, and Ryan Snow and I, and we were quite impressed with her background. She comes to us from Maloof. She's been working there and doing some great things there. Just got caught in their downsizing. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and yourself. And
My many personalities.
your many, wait, don't tell me you have more than one. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, so my name's Megan. I am, she said, coming from Maloof. I've been a copywriter over there for the last year and a little bit. And then, yeah, just got caught in the layoffs last time around. Prior to that, I was working in Utah State in the athletic department, media relations, for over a decade. I started as a student, worked my way up through them.
Sorry, you looked familiar. That.
There you go. Yeah, so yeah, if you've been at games, I would be there on the sideline doing stats, media coordination. So any press releases, interview requests, website management, all of that was done through us. So yeah, I started as an intern when I was still a student, and then was a grad assistant. They paid for grad school for me, and then I worked full-time for 8 years, and then just made the shift so that I could spend more time with my kids and not be spending all my nights and weekends traveling and at games and things like that. So I've lived in the Valley since I started college, so we're going on, what are we at, 15, 16 years, somewhere in there. Yeah, I came to go to school, fell in love with it here, and this is where we want to stay. So I'm excited for this opportunity and hope that it can be a long-lasting thing and keep my family here in the Valley.
So do we.
Sounds like everybody
You've
wants
had
some help, so I'm ready to jump in. Excited.
You've had a little over a week to kind of look at who we are and what we do, and so give us an impression. What do you see?
I think there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot going on, and I think just from watching, I watched bits and pieces of the last council meeting, looked through social media and things like that. I think we can for sure up the communication and the transparency there, keep people informed and know what's going on.
About garbage.
Yeah, I heard
they want more
people wanna know.
garbage
Yeah,
truck.
I'm ready. Let's tell them all about it. Whether that is through just social media or actual physical distributions of things, whatever it might be. Excited to jump in and see what we can do, get people involved in things. So,
Okay. Any questions you want to ask her? Obviously, we were impressed because we brought her to the meeting for your blessing. So I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry,
Or do you
I'm
want-
just firing late tonight, that's all. Just late, my
Keep
fire.
up, would you?
So I do know, this functions largely as a PIO and there's other responsibilities with label as treasurer. Can you talk to me, Ryan, about what are the percentages of this position that are PIO related, communication related functions, and what are traditional treasurer? Because the label for the position really kind of, that really kind of sends us down a different path.
It does. The last position and the one she's filling was a PIO as well. The treasurer is what brings her here as an appointment. There are certain things that a treasurer by state law is responsible for. Signing checks. So she'll be responsible for making sure the checks all get signed and endorsed, and that there is funds behind those checks. There is certain state reports that the treasurer has to do. I would guess that realistically, probably 15% of the job is the treasurer position. And it is supervision for the front staff. So she'll supervise those, the administrative staff downstairs. And also the PIO doing the newsletter, being the editor, and then doing over the website, so website administration. So, yep.
And I'll tell you, as we interviewed the candidate, Ryan's comment was, I can teach the finance piece of it. I cannot teach the creativity.
So I am looking, and what she adds adds a difference to our team that is a creative writing and editing. We are a very good team of analytical individuals, and this time we are looking for somebody that is slightly different than the rest of us, so that will add breadth and depth to our team.
Thank you. I didn't mean to re-interview her. I'm sure that's been done well, but what I wanted to do is have clarity, and maybe who are listening as well, because like, oh, there's a copier to work in athletics. Why are you the treasurer? So it's really important to understand the actual day-to-day, what the job is like, and why her experience is relevant to the position. So thank you.
We need creativity.
It's just overflowing.
And messaging.
Yes.
Our emergency preparedness program. I think, if I'm not mistaken, our city manager is the PIO for emergencies. Will that be transferred, or will that remain with you?
With emergency response, I will be the lead of emergency response, but the PIO will, as she's trained, I see that potentially coming to her. So
the university PIO training was certified. The state offers PIO certification.
no, we didn't ever do anything with that, but we were the contacts for anything, whether it was positive of the simple, here's the score of the football game, versus, oh, here we're dealing with this internally and people are finding, whether internal issues, things like that would get out, we would be responsible for handling that as well.
You're talking
PIO
about
is?
PI, yeah. What's it?
Public Information Officer.
Okay.
It's another TLA. Three-letter acronyms.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Oh, Janelle was
Go
about to
ahead.
make it. That we, I'm sorry, if your name,
Megan McHouston.
Megan McHouston. Sorry, I
You're good.
butchered it.
I
That we approve her appointment as the new city treasurer. Treasurer.
treasure her. I like that. though.
We'll treasure her.
We will treasure her.
Second that.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any additional feedback, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You start tomorrow, right?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Wow.
We start at 5 a.m. Did
Oh,
they tell
you
you
didn't?
that?
You heard from the inside. Did they tell you that part?
6 and 5s in the same day.
My 2-year-old perfect.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And we're happy to have you. Okay, other business, Providence City Waste Removal Service Plans. So you want to,
I want to start spending money, actually.
our new city manager will
Yeah.
fill you in.
I do like the job.
Appreciate the joke. She said you don't need joke.
At this point, we're making steps. The garbage, we've talked about, the council discussed and decided to go into the garbage business. The next step is garbage trucks, the dumpsters and the waste cans. We'd like to start our negotiations with Logan and be able to have, because it's not a budgeted item, it will turn into a budgeted item come July 1st. And so the purchase, we believe will happen obviously after that point. But we'd like to start in the negotiations and start getting the ball rolling as quick as we can on some of these. We have more work to do. We have more work to do on rates and a lot of other things. But this is just the first step in saying, all right, now that we have identified we want to do this, the next step is to start watching the critical path and things that take the longest to fulfill. And the longest things to fulfill are ordering and getting delivery of the garbage trucks. And so as we work on the critical path, that is next for us to get approved by you so that we can start down that road. We haven't formulated rates. We haven't got into a lot of other things that will be coming, but really this is about making sure we're managing our critical path. And the first item is to make sure those trucks get ordered so that we have them in a year and a half, 2 years, whatever that's going to take. So anyway, that's what this is.
Fine. So are we looking at new trucks? Are we
Correct.
looking at ordering them with Logan City to get a better rate?
That's what we're looking at.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at. And we'll go and I think they have a lot of good learning of what trucks work well in our environment. And so as we work with them, we want to be able to have approval to start down that road and maybe make that trigger as soon as we're ready to know what truck we have. We want to be able to have permission that we can start in on that and get moving in that realm or in that work and be able to get things coming and started. So
And this would be 2 side loaders and 1 overhead.
that's correct.
My question has to do with waste cans, because you and I talked about multiple sizes for that. What I still believe in the multiple size approach.
At this,
My concern is, sorry, I'll just finish real quick.
okay,
My concern is just in purchasing current waste cans that would lock us into some sort of pricing or service model at this point. So can you speak to that?
at this point, the easiest way to transition is to be able to purchase what's currently on the ground and available to the residents. If we want to, if the council at some point decides that they want to maintain one size or another, or provide multiple sizes, we can make that shift and phase something out. But this would allow us to start the discussion and be able to purchase. We would expect that we'll purchase what's on the ground inside of Providence and be able to take over ownership of those cans. Correct. And we would buy 2 sizes as what is currently in Providence. So that would be said. Right. 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 And this would, if we want to transition to that, and that's an option, but this would just be for us to buy the ones we've got. So if you have a problem with your garbage can, please get with Logan to get it fixed before we purchase it. Just get those replaced before we go and complete our purchase. If you, anyway, if.
Do you have a timeline for the purchase? Some people, I don't know anybody like that, maybe really like a deadline.
Let's give you July 1st. We'd like to have things started before that. True that.
And is Logan okay with that? Like, could we even like advertise that in the newsletter, or it just?
I don't know that they want to advertise that far, but they.
That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know whether they want to advertise that far, but certainly if the word was by word of mouth, and that's where most things go, it would certainly be a handy thing.
Word of mouth is as good as it is.
I'll try.
We, Megan might be creative enough to find a way.
Carrie's a friend. Carrie's a friend.
Yeah, we have a spin doctor. I actually took it as a compliment. Okay, so Ryan is looking for approval to proceed. So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 5. Purchase of 3 garbage trucks, current waste cans and dumpsters with a condition not to exceed the amount of $1.2 million.
I'd second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Great, thank you. All right, this item is our city manager's compensation. We did his review last council meeting in a closed session. That is not up for public review, but based on our evaluation of Ryan, which was very complimentary, Ryan has done a wonderful job. Our budgets are all balanced. We're saving more money than we've ever saved before. We've got lots of projects that have been completed and are in the hopper to be done. And we would like to make sure that Ryan is happy working here. And so we would like to recommend compensation. I'll read you what is written here. Based on a very favorable performance review, it's recommended the Providence City Manager Ryan Snow receive a compensation increase in the form of additional benefits paid for by the city. The current salary for Mr. Snow is $128,273, which is to be expected as he's been with the city for 3 years. We would expect Mr. Snow to be at the mid-range and at $145,743 at the 5-year mark. In order to keep Mr. Snow's compensation in line with other city managers of similar size cities, it's proposed that we pick up his technology expenditures to the tune of $2,400 annually, and the maximum contribution to his HSA, which is a health savings account, in the amount of $4,732 annually. The total additional annual compensation totals an increase of $7,132. So that adds to his compensation, but not to his salary base. So that being said, we need approval from the council to make that move. And so I will.
Mayor. There was a comment from a citizen. Do you want me to read that?
Oh, is that on number 6?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yes, please. Was wondering where that other comment went.
This comment is again from Emily Watterson, who emailed today regarding item 6. Since the evaluation was done in closed session, there isn't any information other than what is given in the public domain. According to the Transparent Utah for 2021, the city manager received $108,243.20 in wages and $47,825 in benefits for a total of $156,000. In 2022, those numbers increased to $120,388 in wages and $52,181 for a total of $174,569. That is a wage increase of more than 10%. If you compare 2022 wages and benefits to other cities in Cache Valley with similar job titles, North Logan City Administrator shows about $150,000 total wages and benefits. Smithfield, $148,000 for the same. Hiram, $149,000. Hibley, $140,000. That's around $25,000 more than any other surrounding cities of similar size. The 2023 budget issued in June 2022 shows that the city manager's wage was already increased from $122,737.36 to $128,264, a 4.5% increase, which was to be effective July 1st. Based on these facts, I do not support with the wage or benefits increase. Thank you for allowing me to voice my concerns, Emily Watterson.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Are there any public comments? We normally offer public comments on the agenda items too. I'm just curious if those that are here. For the public comment. I know it's your meeting. I'm just saying this is customarily done.
Yeah, of course. Any citizens want to speak? Okay.
Most of you know I've been coming to these council meetings pretty regular for quite a while. And initially, when they first decided or thought about hiring a city manager, didn't go well with the city and it was denied. And then things changed. Ryan was hired. He's done an enormous amount of good for this city. Maybe his compensation package is a little bit more than some of the other cities around, but I think we've got a real gem here. And I think he needs to be, like you said, very well satisfied and want to stay here. I think he's doing a great job, and I hope you'll approve this.
Thank you. We love positive comments. Thank you. Okay. I will entertain a motion now.
I don't know if this is before or after the motion, but there are a couple other things that I wanted to discuss with compensation. Should it be after or before?
Before.
So, and I also, Mayor, I think it would be good maybe for some of the council members to share some of the things, the accolades from the closed meeting, because Ryan, what he's brought to the city has been invaluable. The thousands of dollars that he saved is nowhere near what we're paying him. But he's been here for 3 Christmases. And because he can't give himself a bonus, the staff has all gotten Christmas bonuses and Ryan has not. The bonuses, my understanding of the bonuses is based on their salaries or their positions. And his bonus would be somewhere in the $1,200 range, but he's passed up those because they have to be approved by us. And so he hasn't received those Christmas bonuses. And I think it would be appropriate to give him some of that bonus money that he hasn't gotten for the last 3 years. And so I'd like to have a discussion about that, and maybe even changing his annual evaluation to happen in November so that we can approve his Christmas bonus so that he can get that with the rest of the staff. Okay.
So you want to share those?
Let's have a motion and a second, and then we can do it under discussion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the compensation that has been proposed for our city manager, Ryan Snow.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, second. Okay, we can have some discussion. If there's additional things we want to do, then we would have another motion on top of that.
So do we want to share some of those things that we?
I would like to.
I would like to too.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
You uncomfortable yet, right?
I would tell you that you contractually agreed to make my evaluation between us, and that is the standard practice between councils and managers. I appreciate that the public, I would love to have the public know everything positive I've done for them. I do work for you, and personal matters are generally kept that way, just so that you understand where that's at. So, yes, totally uncomfortable.
I think we should stick to what we said we would do.
Your understanding is it's in the session.
And I think that the public that's listening, the public that's here needs to know that we appreciate what Ryan has done. He's saved us an incredible amount of money, just in engineering costs, because he understands that part of the business. And I think I'd like to respect his request that we leave that. We did it in a closed session, and I think we ought to leave it at that. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carrie, did you want to make another motion?
Yes, for a close vote.
Oh, any opposed?
Wait, yeah, I didn't vote because I feel like the motion could be amended
Okay.
to include compensation or not, if we have a discussion, because it could be amended to include the bonuses and the annual evaluation being moved to November. I think amending
Okay, so we
it
have a
might be
motion
better.
and a second. So we need to amend that motion then.
But we only know where I stand in proposing bonuses and changing.
I don't mind moving, I'm trying to think of your agreement, it just says an annual evaluation.
It just says annual, yeah, it doesn't indicate
So I have
when.
no issues, I
So-
have no issues of moving it to November, but I would rather not commit to anything else beyond that, but I think it makes sense if it's moved to November. So we would have the latitude to do something different, so I don't have any issues with Harry's. It's not my motion that's being amended though, so.
I am in support of the bonuses. I feel like the amount of grant money that Ryan brings in, the benefit, I mean, a bonus to me is for a job well done, and he does an excellent job, a tremendous amount of job. Performance review is separate from a bonus to me, because performance review is something that's done annually.
Well, everyone on staff
Right.
got
Right.
a bonus regardless of the review.
Everyone but one person.
Right.
Were you suggesting retroactively paying this? But that's what I thought I heard you
I
say.
think
but
for
I
the
didn't-
last 2 years that he did, well, he didn't get him for the last 3 years, but I think we should retroactively give him his bonus, his Christmas bonus for the last
In addition
couple of
to
years.
what was
Right.
presented.
Everyone on staff got a bonus except one person. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, I just was clarifying what you were saying.
So that's,
'Cause I was kind of thinking you were saying.
oh, instead
The
of,
proposal was
no.
because you didn't get this.
Okay, the
we're going to
proposal
do
is for
that.
7,132 increase
So I'll
in
be
the
really clear.
form of his benefits, not to his salary, but his benefits. So Carrie is now proposing that we add for this year only, that we catch him up on his bonuses, Christmas bonuses, which would add an additional
Will it be $3,600? Or no, yeah, that's correct.
36.
So I,
Just one time.
I can respect Carrie's position. I can understand that. And I think it's very benevolent and kind. I do believe that we should evaluate in November so we can have that option to evaluate that year's performance and have the option of giving a bonus. I think Janelle's rationale's sound. I'm not in favor of retroactively paying bonuses. I think particularly in this instance, I think we're talking about very different scales of employees between those that were, people on Ryan's staff and himself and where his salary is. So that's just my position. I'm in favor of moving it to November so we can have that option for future bonuses, but not retroactively paying them.
So I have a question. So does that mean that a Christmas bonus is conditioned on a review?
It is not.
Well,
it's just a
then
bonus.
Why do we want to move it to November? Why don't we just propose that he gets a Christmas bonus and we keep our review as we have it? Why do we want to move it? It seems to me that that would almost indicate we're trying to taint the Christmas bonus. I don't like that.
Well, I'm trying to understand the Christmas bonus. If it's formula, is it formula calculated? Like in my mind, what I heard Janelle say was bonuses are there for the job well done, exceptional work, and there ought to be some latitude and variation in giving out those bonuses.
Yeah.
If
That
it's
was not considered.
what I was hearing was saying it's formula based, like it's X per amount of a salary. In my mind, that's just salary being rewarded at Christmas time. So I'm 100% in favor of bonuses, but in my mind, the reason you call them bonuses is because they're discretionarily awarded based upon someone's performance. And other than that, I'd say just make it a salary. I mean, my tax refund is a spring bonus, but it's just giving my money back. So
I wish mine was a bonus.
Well, I paid the last 3 years, but I'm hopeful this time.
All right, I just have one more question about the two numbers, the 128.
The 128 is where he is.
Right, and getting to that
The
145.
mid-level is 145.
What's that?
The mid-level is 145. Now I have not added in there benefits on top of that.
Right.
So that is pure
128,
salary.
Getting to the 145.
Will be
2 more years.
Will be merit. Will be based on his performance. We would raise that salary.
But the addition is not part of the salary.
Correct. It's not taxable.
So could we give not a retroactive Christmas bonus, but could we give a merit bonus?
Would love to
people stand
consider a
behind
merit
that? I feel like he's missed those. He deserves merit bonus as well. And I asked prior to this meeting if we could just say Ryan gets a bonus the same as everyone else, but apparently we can't do that. That every year we have to approve his bonus.
I just like that better. What if he deserves more than $1,200, a year for Christmas? I mean, I would like the choice to be able to evaluate how well the year went and say, boy, that was a stellar year. That's worth $5,000, or $10,000 or whatever the case is.
But the rest of the bonuses are not predicated on performance by the individual. They're predicated on how well the city's done. And so we give bonuses out. We calculate that based on what their position is and how much their salary is. And then we do the bonus.
Well, you just said how well the city's done. So we're picking, I say we, Brian, you're picking a percentage for year to year, or?
It's not specifically to a year. It would be related to position. So those that are managers are awarded so those that are senior level managers have an amount on top for their responsibility. It was this last year's bonus was approximately 25 cents per hour that employees worked. So it's similar to a salary. It did have and then if they were in a supervisor role, there was additional for supervisor and then for department head. That's how it was calculated. Doesn't have to be on this side. I'm asking none I appreciate any merit you give. I'm happy with it, with the amount I have. I'm coming to ask none. Because of last one, it was asked to have it on the agenda, brought up. I'm really asking for none. I'm happy where I'm at. And obviously it's a tough conversation. And I realize that, yeah, to Carrie's point, the city manager's salary is always discussed and always amended by the council. It's never on.
In an open meeting.
So I think we make this less awkward by not prolonging the discussion. You know, so where I stand, maybe
I
we know
told you
where
where I
Josh
stand.
stands, but you said you want to you're in favor of a merit bonus, but
I'm
I
in
don't know
favor of
what.
doing an evaluation in November, so we could make that.
But then I said, what about a merit bonus? And you said, oh,
I'm
yeah.
not in favor of doing anything else than what we've
Anything
already
this year.
discussed. I feel like what we've done, we've talked about in a closed session.
And
Since this is open to the public, I would just encourage the public to reach out to each of us individually if they care to know why we vote the way we vote.
Well, we just said it was a very positive.
Right,
But
exactly.
we don't want to
So,
give them the specifics
Yep, that's what I said.
of what we
What I
talked
said.
about. So the motion on the table is to accept the proposal of an increase in HSA and the technology expenditures that he puts out of his own pocket for a total of $7,132, which will be an ongoing amount that is added to his compensation.
Which just to put in perspective, constitutes 5.5% of his salary.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table to accept this proposal as is. Had some talk of amending that. We do have a second on it, so.
maybe we do vote and I'll make a second motion and see where everyone else stands with the bonus.
So we don't confuse the issues.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, and I'll make another motion. Can I?
Yes.
I make a motion that, and I would be happy to call it a merit bonus of $3,600. And that we move his annual review. One-time payment. Honestly, I think he deserves 10 times that. And you want them separate.
No, I just think there's an issue here because this was not.
It's compensation. We're talking about his compensation.
I worry about running afoul of, okay, all right, I'll buy that.
Are we running afoul of anything, Brian?
I'm ready to be done.
That's not what I asked.
Point taken, Carrie. It does say compensation in general, so I withdraw my.
It is compensation.
And his annual review to November.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. I'll second that, but we'll discuss. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. It's open for discussion.
I don't think we have to move it. My only thing that if we move it to November, I feel like for his performance review, then I guess all the bonuses will be merit based.
In my mind,
But-
it's a mood issue because.
But yeah, moving it out matters.
So
If it's easier, I was hired in November and that just puts it to my anniversary date. So it's not a hard one because that's when I was hired anyway. So it doesn't matter to
So it
me.
doesn't matter.
Unless you were to do it in November.
Yeah, we did,
You could do it in
because it was
November.
before Jeff was on.
So you even have to have a motion, because we just have to once a year, we decide what to do in November.
Okay, so I'll amend the motion to be a $3,600 merit bonus to be awarded one time.
Okay. So we have an amended motion on the table. Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey.
Motion carries. Phew. Okay.
Sorry, Ryan. But you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Spoken like,
We appreciate you.
spoken like a mom.
Was it $3,600 worth of pain?
It was painful.
Bottom line, Ryan, we appreciate what you do.
Very much.
It'll all be taxed in the end. In the wash, it all comes out.
The government gets it all.
The government will get their share in the wash. All right, so we talk about winter hours. Get to something else.
Are you running this meeting or am I?
You are, but I'm ready to move to something else.
Okay, let's move on to the study item, winter parking hours. Ryan, I'm supposing this is yours, or maybe Rob.
No, it's mine. It's mine. I look there. There's been some modification in a few other cities. We look, you know, our roads, by and large, are fairly narrow. Some of them were built prior to our current standard, and we have an amazing team of public works that tries and does their best to plow the roads. There is time, and there's been a lot of tickets. So if nothing else, this brings to light the winter parking hours. We have focused on tickets. Our current winter parking hours, and this is a study item, so there's no action to be taken. It's just kind of introducing the topic and kind of filling the waters. But at this point, our current winter hours is from midnight to 6 a.m. Yes. And so anytime, I mean, I think some of the other cities have started to move it maybe a little earlier so that people aren't, a lot of people are home by 10, 11. So moving it that way, and to give some time, oftentimes our plow operators start at 4 o'clock, or the storm starts rolling in at 4 or 5. Generally, it gets warmer. The storms usually end, and we can get caught up later in the day. But this would, the discussion would be maybe moving that to 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something to give them a little bit longer. But anyway, it's just kind of opening up with just kind of letting you know some where we're at. And so anyway, that's kind of what it is. And we're kind of curious your thoughts of winter parking. We've had some extra storms this year than we've had in other years, and it gets to be a lot of snow, and we still have a lot of snow on the ground. And so anyway, that's kind of what it is. Just kind of bring it up to kind of start seeing if there's a discussion or any interest on the council for any desire to make any modification or not. So that's
I think it's interesting to consider, especially in the mornings, keeping cars off the road longer, at least those school buses have all passed through, because, well, I have some neighbors that park on the street quite a bit, and the buses take up a little extra room. And I think it's reasonable to ask, at least tell school buses, have all the kids at school in the mornings to have people off when there's storm going on.
I make a comment. I drive one of those school buses.
Oh yeah, you should have made the school bus comment, I'm sure.
The concern that I have is the teachers generally arrive at school ahead of the students to prepare for their day, particularly around the Providence Elementary School. And we find a lot of teachers parking on the street. And I usually go down the street about 8:25 in front of the school on the south side, and teachers are arriving and starting to park in that area. Now, I've also observed, since this was on the agenda, other areas where people park on the street. And my concern, and personally, I really appreciate what Rob and his staff has done. I think they've done amazing and fantastic work this year. It's been a crazy year for snow. And I can't stress enough how much I appreciate you, Rob, and your crew. My concern is going later than 8 o'clock because the business day starts around 8 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm concerned about how much enforcement is going to be done if people start arriving 7:30 thereabouts for their work, such as teachers. There again, it gets really congested around Spring Creek in the morning down there, parents in and out. Now, you've already plowed that road, you've already been through it, you've opened it up, and it's great. But I know you want to widen them out. And I remember the day when I drove snowplow and I wanted to widen them out. There's also times that we found that some church meetings on Sunday start around 9 o'clock. If there happens to be a missionary going or coming home and they got a 9 o'clock meeting and there's a large group attending some of those religious services, you'll find those parking out on the street, particularly around the Blue Roof Church out on Main Street. You find some out on the, and you do in the First Ward Church by the Ball Diamond in Providence. So my concern is going beyond the 8 o'clock hour in the morning. And I know how beneficial that would be. I absolutely know how beneficial that would be. But I'm just wondering if we're going to run into too many challenges trying to enforce the rule from 8 to 10 and what kind of problem that's going to bring in onto us. I have no problem, except on New Year's, with you starting at 10 o'clock at night. But most of the time, you don't really. Dee used to plow all night, but he liked to plow all night. That was him. But not everybody likes to plow all night. So I understand your predicament. I understand the problem, but I'm really hesitant going beyond the 8 o'clock hour in the morning.
That's helpful for us.
I'm okay with starting out with a smaller increment, maybe something like 11 to 7, see how that works. 11 p.m. I mean, it's only a few extra hours on each or hour on each end, but
Well, and if there
try
are
it out.
problem
If it doesn't
spots,
work, then
maybe those
try
problem
something
spots
else.
could be done first.
And we have a priority of routes, whether it's the steepness of the road, the busyness of the road. We do some of those. So.
I appreciate they do my road because it is really steep right there.
My wife says Providence is absolutely the very best in taking care of the roads for the school buses. I found that too. My
so
second
true.
load comes
So
in
true.
Providence. My second load, but it's on 5th South. When I put in for driving, I said no hills, absolutely not. Flat road, no hills.
Rob, can you remind me, I know you have hours where the plow drivers take a break. What hours are those? I know they're through the middle of the night. Does it start at 11?
We try to wrap things up about 10, maybe 11 p.m. and get rest till 4. So we start somewhere between the neighborhood of 3:30 and 4:30, depending on who's on call and who's the early bird, get her going. But so we have kind of a 4 o'clock ballpark round to try to get things motivated if it's snowed throughout the night. So
If you're plowing till
following this.
midnight or plowing
we,
till
we
10
shut
o'clock at
things
night,
down
they
around
probably
10
should
p.m.
get out
You
of the
stop
way by
plowing
10.
at 10 p.m. But the hours where cars are not allowed to park is between midnight and 7.
Yeah, it's not real helpful.
Yeah, it doesn't seem helpful at
It
all.
is in the fact that if they're not parking there when they get home from work, they're probably not there when we do get started at 4 a.m. So it actually works in a roundabout way, and I like the idea of stretching the time out a little bit here and there.
So
There is
people are
some
parking, but
conflicts,
they're
like
anticipating
current
they can't be there for the night, and so they're pulling in earlier, even though it's not enforceable till midnight. Am I understanding you correctly? So like I get home and I know it's going to snow, and it's 5 p.m. and rather than leave my car out and move it, I think, well, I'm going to pull it in now because I'm going to have to pull it in at midnight anyway.
You'll have to play musical cars if he wants to do that.
Okay.
And so they're creating a spot in the winter to continually park that car like I do at my house. I got teenage young adult daughters now too, so I have to park one on the lawn. So I keep it plowed out for that winter use. And so with those types of restrictions, it doesn't work
get people out of the road.
So making it earlier, at least if that was the behavior that we were getting from residents, making it 11 PM or 10 PM doesn't seem like it would have a
Not a huge
consequential effect.
But potentially anything helps, or especially it might come down to our new hiree to help us educate and find ways to promote the idea on the importance of it and the widening aspect of it. Because a lot of our widening is run into these problems, and it's usually not even 10 to 10 that we're getting to that point in the process. It's usually afternoon, between noon and 5, that we're hitting the widening aspects. And so if we could just get people to understand getting out of that roadway and not being there unless you need to be for pickup and drop off, sure help us out.
So in my mind, that seems more like a communications issue and not an hours restriction issue. Like my daughter, like is like your daughter, I'm long asleep, but like, you know, there's like 6 trucks and cars parked on the side of the road, and my daughter's friends visiting, you know, until midnight and they clear out. But that doesn't seem like those are the ones that you're wanting out. It seems like you want people off where you can widen the road.
Yeah, if we could just get that out there so that, and I know the other cities, like Ryan mentioned, have tried playing with these hours recently, and they extended it a little bit, kind of like Nebaker referred to, and maybe it's helped. I'm not sure. I haven't followed up with them lately to see.
Maybe we could check and see.
And they've extended it to kind of like 10 to 8 or 11 to 7 idea. And I don't know how well it's worked for them, but they're seeing issues as well and trying to find
Until
a way
people
to
get
make things
plowed
better.
in and they can't get out, or they get ticketed. They probably are gonna do
I
it.
think we've done a large amount of enforcement this year compared to prior years. I think that's probably helping because my plow drivers have been noticing, very grateful to that code enforcement aspect of things. And so it definitely helps keep the roads wide.
Can we check on how it's working for the other cities before we make any kind of a change?
Yes.
It's a study item by all means.
Yeah.
Like Brent did, drive around in the morning, kind of see how many areas are problematic for parking. Think about the bike lanes that are coming as well when you're doing that. It's great things to study and kind of keep tabs on how it's going to work and where it works great and where we'll have problems.
I'd be interested to see how other places have felt like it's
made any
if
difference.
it's helped them.
Have you ever seen
I'm with you, keep them off the road all winter.
you ever seen a picture of New York City in the wintertime with a heavy snowstorm? Holy smokes.
People can't get their cars out.
Not at all. But you know what they put on their garbage trucks? Snow plows. Every garbage truck has.
We
a snow
talked about
plow.
that. It sounds enticing in a strange way.
Yeah. See, you got down.
I'm more like you, and I'd rather not plow hills at all.
Well, we've got time to look at it and think about it. And if you'll get back to us and let us know how the other cities are doing with that.
We figured to bring it up during the time that we actually still have snow, because if we did it in July, it's hard to think about it in July. But to change the course while there's still snow on the ground may not work well that way. But we wanted to start, you know, at least entering the discussion, and so that when it does make it, if it does make a change, then when it does and next year comes along, then we have that. But if we brought it up in June and July, it's not as effective as you can actually go out and see.
2 weeks ago when we were all shoveling 15 inches of snow off.
So. Anyway.
Okay.
Our guys are doing a great job when it
They
comes
are.
to that thankful factor. Planning commission member, I can't remember his name now.
Right there.
Thank you for that. I mean, we do try to, you know, not wreck driveways. We really truly do. It's just there's so many variables that prevent that in so many scenarios. And so we do what we can when we can, but so we can't be everybody's good hero, friend, plower on every storm and every truck. So there's so many variables. I could go on forever about those variables, but we do try to do the best we can, and we appreciate those.
And
that
we've
notice
seen
that.
that. We've seen your fruits, the fruits of your labor. So thank you.
But Rob, I have loved this winter. I broke my leg on the 27th of December, and I've just enjoyed the winter all the way from my bedroom window.
It just has to warm up at the appropriate pace,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I got a son-in-law that shovels it
Well, I'm just talking about this spring.
Yeah.
We just want the thaw to happen exactly right.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. It is everyone's assignment to take a look and see what you think and what might be a good solution. And then Rob will come back to us, Rob and Ryan, as to what the other cities have found by changing their hours. Okay, close that part of the meeting. Let's do staff reports. How fast can you do them?
Hello again. I don't really have much to report. It's still winter and a lot of things have slowed down for us. We've had a break in the snow lately, so we've actually been able to do some loose end odds and ends types jobs lately. So that's been nice. Budget wise, we're on track for this year. Me and my department heads have all been meeting with Ryan lately to start planning for next year's budget and different capital projects and such. It's been very helpful, and I appreciate that he brings us in to go over our individual thoughts and line items. We might have blown a budget or two line item here and there already when it comes to like salt because of this year, but we find ways to shuffle things around and make it work and cut corners and other ways to make it work. So other than that, I don't have anything more to report.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work your crew does.
A quick clarification, as you're out driving around looking at the snow, we do allow some street side parking during the winter. If there's no curb and gutter, they have to be at least 8 feet away from the asphalt. So you may see some parked there that are legitimate. They are still meeting the code, but that is a very big challenge, this winter parking business. Honestly, parking all year round is a huge challenge in our community because people have a lot of great big things that they like to park on the roads in the summertime as well, for days at a time, not just 48 hours, but for 48 weeks. So, keep parking in your mind, because it really is something that's very challenging in many of our neighborhoods. Even in our wider street neighborhoods, they get very frustrated with some of the vehicles that are parked year round. So kind of as you're out looking specifically at parking, kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
And when people have ADUs, then they've got more people that live in there on that lot.
They probably,
There's more.
yeah, they do. We don't require any extra spaces currently, but that,
I wanted to. We did that.
I know that is something that is allowed in state code. We'll have to see what happens with state code. One thing I wish that we could get and hopefully, welcome to Megan. I mean, that's a relief. Very welcome. So, but one thing, people really do need to contact their state legislators and that representatives. I mean, poor councils are caught between a rock and a hard spot between the state code and the public preference. And I think there needs to be a lot of education for the general public about how important it is that they contact the people that are making these changes that they don't care for, because our hands as far as staff are tied. We follow that state code. So if the state code says you need to show us that you're doing this, then we do our best to show them that we're adding the type of housing they think we need to add. And so it really does start with encouraging people to get friendly with the people that they elect to go to Salt Lake City. As far as recreation goes, we have started our recreational signups, our baseball, softball, kickball, that has started. It will give people quite a few weeks because somehow they never see the notices, but they are starting and we're getting a good turnout already. And so that's kind of exciting. And we are seeing a few small subdivisions. We did receive the petition that gentleman talked about. a little bit earlier. I think it came in yesterday. And so we haven't had a chance to even get anything out yet, but it certainly didn't come in quick enough to get it on the agenda. So, and to be honest, I think it's like 26 pages or something that they've included with background information, and I haven't even looked through the whole thing yet. So I can't give you much detail. And as I said, we've got a few small subdivisions that we're working on with concept plans. And so there will be some, those are traditional lot size, the 12,000 square foot lots, the R112. So anyway, we're staying not quite as busy with individual homes as we have been, but we are staying busy. We've got a commercial property that they want to get their job out to bid in March, and we're trying to get their reviews done. And it's a big deal. It's got a lot of moving parts to it, and we're working our hardest and they're working their hardest, but we're gonna be really challenged to be able to have them ready to dig ground maybe by the end of March, but the 1st of March is going to be really hard for us to meet those goals, but we're trying our best with them. And we're just hanging in there, moving along. Code compliance is trying to keep up on snow removal. The other thing is you're out talking to your neighbors, you remind them, well, I know how frustrating it is to shovel your driveway and have the snowplow come along and put the snow back in. It's really frustrating too. And unfortunately, our neighborhood up in the southeast section of the city is one of the worst for people pushing snow back out into the road. And that's a problem and I think maybe just neighborly conversations would be helpful. And it's hard because then it's hard for the commuters, not just the snow plows. It's not good for a plow to hit one of those bumps, but it's not good for someone on a bicycle or someone walking or someone in a car. So there really is some reason and some method to the madness of not putting the snow back out in the street once we've.
So you talk to your neighbor across the street, you push your snow to their side and they push their snow to your side.
Just go out and clean those darn ricks up. Anyway, thank you very much for your time and for your
Thanks for your
service and all
staff
you do.
and the work that you do and your staff does. Thank you.
I have a question about snow removal. I know you've been putting door hangers on both stores about sidewalks, but how do you do those for the ones who their sidewalk is on the back side of the property? Like it's a lot, when you're driving around looking for things to enforce, it's a lot easier to look at from the front of the.
It is. We've tried to. We put them on vacant lots, or we don't put them on vacant lots, but we send letters on vacant lots and
letters.
yeah. So, and Colton learned a couple of things from the first time that we put it out. And because we had several snow plow violations listed on our little door hanger or snow removal, sorry. And he circles now which snow removal item we're focusing on for that particular property. So I think that's helping some. But I do think I am really glad to have Megan. I heard back from one of the attorneys that said we're getting a lot of complaints that people just don't know that you have winter parking hours. To me, that's like they didn't know we were considering garbage trucks, but
That's my fault. Maybe I should talk.
It is.
Touche. Totally deserved.
But again, thank you so much.
Has he been putting the door hangers about winter parking hours in places where there are particularly egregious?
Yes, we actually started that like in November.
Okay.
So
I just have one thought. The gentleman who came up about the MXD zone, like I was hearing that for the first time that there was a petition for annexation. I was like, did I miss something? I don't think I did.
No.
I'm hoping that had he not come up, I'm worried that the council may have sat for a long time before getting that information. I just don't know what the process is. I want to make sure if there's a petition for annexation or something like that, the council gets notified by email.
well, I can let Ty go into it a little bit more, but they've changed the annexation rules since the last time we did one. they changed it right as we were in the process with the last one we did, I think. And so now the applicant, before they can even submit a petition, they have to mail out letters to neighbors. So we didn't have any, we knew what they were doing, but we didn't, if you'd have called us, I'd have had to say, I know that they're talking, I know what they're talking about, but I have no particulars on it because we didn't have anything. They can't submit a petition until they've done that noticing by state code.
That's both comforting and discomforting to hear.
It is, it kind of
So
catches
would you
us off.
notify, when you do get stuff like that, would you notify us by email? Just.
I talked about it in my last staff report, last meeting.
Yeah.
I mentioned it, that an annexation was coming in on garden trucks.
I'm gonna.
Try to pay attention.
Annexations are one thing that border, they're land use, but it's really the recorder that is really involved in the paperwork side of the processing of the annexation. More so than the land
It comes
use.
to us and we say whether or not we want to even entertain it.
Yeah.
And then it goes back and then it goes to planning commission.
I think it's my fault, so that's all there is to it.
Is that satisfying to you that he said that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Scarlett.
Thank you. Fine.
The only way I found out about it is because one of the residents came in and showed me the notice. That was the only reason I found out. So that was a week before our meeting last time. That notice has to go up for 30 days before they can file their petition. And they have to get a certificate from the actual county before they can file their petition. So it's a different process. It's kind of messy. Once we get that petition, we'll give it to our attorney, go through our checklist, make sure they meet all that stuff, and then they'll come before you as a resolution to see if you guys want to go forward with that. That's kind of the process and the rundown. Regarding winter parking, this year we probably tripled our tickets with winter parking. We have a few residents who are contesting them in court, which I've never seen before. So that's kind of interesting. Our website's still underway. We ran into a few hiccups on the designer side that we couldn't control. But
Well, we have somebody now.
yeah, it's probably a benefit because now Megan will be here to go through the training. But right now they're doing the content migration. So in the next week or two, we should have an example, a good example of what our site looks like and be able to mess with it and really kind of fine tune what we want to see out of it. We got our OCT conference in St. George in April. We will have our budget public hearing in March. We'll be aware of that one. I'll be look at our budget and we're working on that right now. We may have another public hearing that time as well. That's all I got.
Thank you.
What CMS,
Is
what
that
CMS are we
Normal,
migrating from
didn't you
to
do that in May?
website?
The content, just all
No, but which content management system? Or
Oh, I
same CMS?
yeah. I know we're with GoDaddy, they want that information, but you saw the initial design, but now they're just moving it all. Put it on the website. I don't know
How it's met, the content's
Yeah.
managed. Okay.
yeah, that's over my head.
They have a Civics Plus and Municode combined together, and they have a it's kind of an out of the box kind of a system. So it comes to us with a back end programmed. So it's not like a WordPress or that. It's kind of their proprietary. Yeah.
You could have given them all high fives as you walked by.
I thought I would enjoy this meeting a lot more than I thought, but when the Freudian slip, to replace me with started. And it's,
I just want to see if you were awake.
that's been my biggest fear of all. I do love this city. You should know I do love the city. I come to work every day loving the residents that are here. I do love the people. I do love being able to get to work with them, whether they're happy, whether they're mad. I do love the people of Providence, and hopefully those residents that have actually worked with me know that. And I think if you talk to many of them, they probably do. All right, so yeah, annexation with that one, we've had that one come in before. They came in a number of years ago, I think, 2 years ago, yeah. So this will be the second time to try to annex that little piece in, yeah, with the changes, the county gets to see it before we ever do. And it used to be that the county and the city got the petition at the same time, and so we worked concurrently. And but now they see it long before we do. They give out what's the frustrating piece is they give out kind of maps and detail and stuff and say, well, we may not even, that might not even be anywhere near our general plan, or our city hasn't had a chance to look at it at all. So they come and get a chance to present to the county of a possible zoning before they've even come to the city and gotten that's not even a chance.
So is that a county rule?
No, that's the state.
The state.
That's the state. And I would then on the state, when we talked about widths, road widths, keep in mind that 25 road width proposal for residential streets is a maximum, not the minimum, not the average, but the maximum. I am a firm believer that as we get feedback from our public with Prop 1, and we sent out a survey to try to get extra information, I think one of the biggest things that our public did not like is narrow streets. I think that, but the legislature is talking about overruling any of that and making a maximum of 25 residential streets. And then they're also talking about eliminating or mostly eliminating the referendum laws. So that's their solution is, well, the people didn't like it, so let's just get rid of the referendum law so they don't have to worry about it. If people are not watching the state, we could look like the bad guy as a city and do everything our residents want and still be in trouble with the state. And this is the time they are making a lot of changes, and that pendulum is pushing. The homeowners association is pushing that pendulum as far against cities as they possibly can right now.
What number those bills are?
174.
Senate Bill 174.
And
House Bill 406.
Right, I'm assuming this is the case, but we as a city, could we write a nonpartisan informative article in our newsletter to notify residents of what's going on?
It'll be too late, Josh. The legislative session ends in 2 weeks.
Well, can we have a FAQ made online and push something out through the pipelines saying there's an FAQ? Look at that.
I think there's a possibility. We'll see what we can work on.
I mean, do we have someone who's a really good communicator?
And a writer.
And a writer, maybe it'll do this. Yeah. Just don't park your car on the street.
So I don't live in Providence yet. We're good.
All right. Just some other things to note. Because budgets, the budget hearing, we have to ask for a date from the county. And so the county gets to decide when we hold our budget hearing, because they don't want all of them at the same time, which that makes sense. They don't want everybody to hold their budget hearings all the same day so that the public has to pick and choose. So
the same crowd can go to city.
yeah, so that everybody can make it to every public, so that's the design. We did submit, and we have submitted previously for our May meeting. That was what we had submitted, and they said no. And so we said, well, what about March? Because April, we want people present. We like public participation in it. We thought because April would be the league, it's not the best time because, you know, it doesn't really give that public involvement that we wanted. And so we moved to March. But honestly, that has, between grant writing and budget, that has consumed the last month of my time. I am nearly there and I will be ready for that March meeting. But if you have any specifics, like usual, it will come out. I'll present. We'll have a meeting on any of the different things, and then we'll let it sit, marinate, and then come back to it after a month for the adoption, or at least a month. Probably in this one it might be 2. So anyway, but if you have specifics or questions of what might be in there or that, please come visit with me. But just so you know, it is moved up. So anyway, that wasn't our choice, but we're going to achieve it. So anyway, some things to make sure that the council and the public are aware of is the amount of work that Zollinger Park is going to see this year. And I just, as I'm putting together grants and I'm looking at what all is going to be done there, and what work is going to go into that, it's fairly significant. You may want to think about this. Think that we're going to get, we'll put in 4 more pickleball courts. We'll put in a skate park. We're going to finish a parking lot, and we'll put a trail from east to west. And potentially, depending on how the bids go, we'll complete a trail from the new trail to the north, which would then create a half-mile walking trail inside of Zollinger Park. And if you walk to Gateway Drive and you use that route, it will actually be a 1-mile track from start to finish around and through Zollinger Park. If you add to that the bike lanes that will service the residents into Zollinger Park and onto Gateway Drive, we have 9 miles of bike lane and trails that we're adding this year. So if you look at just how much interest Zollinger Park will have, it will be sufficient, or it will be significant, as well as being able to not shut down the park. Our goal is not to shut down the park throughout all the construction and pieces of the puzzle that are coming in and done. Our goal is not to have it shut down, to continue to have the recreation that we provide, and to continue to provide the baseball and competition and on all of that. So that is the goal for that one park. It's gonna have a lot. We have added space, so we're going to be able to look at and being prepared for what that space will take. So anyway, just kind of give an update and a summary. I like to maybe put it in different methods so people can kind of get a different look at what's going to happen.
Brian, can I just say,
yes.
As we've been getting letters from businesses, and we've gotten letters from the chamber and from economic development and the tourism bureau, the kinds of things, and school district, and other businesses, the kinds of things, words that we're hearing is world class, the kinds of events that we'll have in there will bring people from outside. They come into our town, they spend their money, and they go home. And so we feel like we're going to have a world-class park that will generate additional business for the businesses in our town. So it's really a big deal for us to be able to do this.
And the ability for the walking and recreation of our own residents is going to be tremendous. Along with that, we have about 10 blocks of road we're going to redo. Some of the worst ones, Stonehenge, 400 East, and the Cherrywood development. So we're gonna redo those. Some of it's gonna be water lines, some of it's just gonna be the pavement surface. And after we complete these, I believe that there probably isn't a city in the valley that would have better roads than we've got once we're done with this summer. I'd put us up against any other city. We're expected to drill a test, at least one test well, as soon as we can, depending on when we can get contractor out, and then eventually get to a production well, so that we can get some of our water rights, some of our shares and things like that, be able to have an extra source of water to supply into the system. So as we add those, if we add that one and we continue to have Broad Hollow and magnify it, then that can give either an additional source if something happens to one. It can allow our pumps to rest. Our booster pumps don't have to run as much. Anyway, there's a lot of benefits to that, and we're working through those. So anyway, we've got lots. This year is going to be a busy year, as we've talked. We'll continue to talk about that, but we want to make sure you're aware of the busyness of this year and the great things we'll accomplish, and we're doing that all while working within our budget. We have gone over with salt, and we understand that, but that's these kind of years, and we tighten our belt in other areas, and we make it work. You'll note we didn't bring a budget adjustment to you. We're still within our overall budget, and we continue to maintain that. And we figure we'll, at the pace, we'll probably continue to maintain through. Oftentimes, our January or December meetings have a modification to budget. We didn't do that this year. So anyway, we're getting very close and tight within the budget. So, questions you have for me before I step away?
One. Sorry, Carrie. Do you know what the fee is for family for the water? For the irrigation, difference between Spring Creek and Blossom?
I do. Keep in mind first, we prefer the water right or water share. That's the preference, right? That's where we want. That is what we're asking for, and that is basically the code is to ask for contributed water rights or water shares. The reason why we get, and I know this is a long answer, but I like long answers. But the reason why we allow for the fee in lieu is it generally is a higher dollar amount. And then we have to go out and purchase either water rights or purchase, and a lot of our fee in lieu will go into the drilling of the well to perfect some of our water rights. But we will use that fee in lieu to gain water, and that's what it's intended for. So we charge, if somebody cannot bring us a share or a water right, we charge $3,000 per acre foot. So, but we would prefer, and we only do that if and when we need to or could use it, and at the discretion of our public works director. So it is not a guarantee, and it is not at the discretion.
We get to decide whether we'll accept it or not.
That's correct.
And I swear, since I've been here, I thought it was $2,200. It's gone up by $800 or something.
I don't believe it has.
It hasn't. You might be confusing it with the price we pay. If somebody comes to us and wants to sell us a share, then we have two different. It's not the 2,200, but we do have two different amounts. Blacksmith Fork is 1,000.
Yeah,
I think
that's 3,000, and the Spring Creek share is 3,000.
Yeah. So we do have two different amounts.
You lose the sense.
The fee in lieu,
He was pegged to what we advise for this.
no, fee in lieu is based on the acre foot and what you go out on the open market and buy water rights, not water shares, water rights.
It's not actually pegged. They happen to be a similar number,
Yeah.
but they're not pegged. So. Yeah, which can be
Apples and
confusing.
apples.
What's that?
It's not apples. to
It is not
apples.
apples to apples. So they're not. In fact, for one water right, for one water share of Spring Creek would actually be $9,000 in a or approximately in a fee in lieu.
Because the
So-
shares represent different amounts.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
difference in that. So
It's a complicated answer.
it's a complicated answer, but at that point, it
But it
is
helps
it's
me
a lot
answer the
higher.
questions that I-
It's a lot higher, and it's at our discretion, and we prefer obviously the shares that we can convert easiest into culinary water. So I know that was a long way to answer your question, but I
That was a
hope it
good
was
answer. It
sufficient.
was a good answer. I understand all the nuances.
And it went over a lot of people's heads.
It's okay. I've been talking water for a long time, so.
Me too, but it's difficult to
It
understand.
helps. And this is just, again, I don't know, fiber. If we can come up with some way to educate people on the steps that, you know, you're gonna get a text and an email, you're gonna get this. I've had people reach out to me and say they don't know if it's official from Providence City, if it's a scam, so it's, I guess that's a project. Carrie said she wants somebody to help her with the script.
Well,
We'll volunteer to be your
happy
buddy.
to not do it if someone else wants to.
I've taken the email I got from you and have asked Strata to start in
Oh,
theirs and
good.
fill in, because I think they have some responsibility to help us in some of these things. But
Yeah, I'm totally fine with
so
delegation.
ultimately at this point, so that you have a base of it. First of all, you will have somebody come, Mike Bino or somebody somebody in the same role. What's that? Dakota. Come and coordinate the drop between the road and your house, and that is just the conduit drop. Well, I'll take one step back. Oftentimes you'll see them come down and do the main line first, and you say, "Oh, they came through my place. Did they miss me?" No, they didn't miss you. We won't miss you. We're intending and remembering all residents. But next you'll get a call from Dakota or Mike and schedule and coordinate that drop from the road to your house, and that's the conduit. And then somebody will come in and actually do that install. So one coordinates, one installs. Then the next is they'll come by after they've got enough drops put in. They will come by with a crew. The crew goes very quickly, and so they don't coordinate one at a time, but they'll come by and do several dozen blowing in the fiber from the road to the house, and then
That's
you'll
when they put a box on the side of
and then they'll have hanging out there. They'll have wires hanging out there.
still with fiber blown in.
That's the wires are the fiber. That is the fiber that's been blown
Not
into
the
the conduit.
conduit for the fiber.
So the conduit comes first, and you'll have a 1.25 inch micro conduit, and then the fiber gets blown in, and it is the black, looks like a black cable, and the fiber is actually inside that cable. We've asked them, instead of just leaving the cable coiled up, we asked them to go back and put a box on so that there was a termination point, so that it wasn't hanging out there. So we've asked that, so that will be part of that blowing in the fiber box on. So that should be,
So that will be bundled and going forward.
yeah, that should be, that's my
Okay.
understanding. They had got them separated, but we've tried to bring those back together. And then we have a company that comes and splices all of these together. So they have to put all of the different splices and weld the different fibers together. And it takes them a couple of weeks, and then the testing starts. Because we don't want to sell a connection that doesn't have all of the ability to provide everything that we've said it would. So that testing seems like it takes forever. I look at Rob because he and I are in this together, which I appreciate. And that testing, if it goes well and it goes quickly, then we can start then when they get the final test, then you'll get an email or a text, whichever you gave back to the drop coordinator. They will use that information that they got at that time and give you a notice that you are now ready to select internet service provider.
So I got a door hanger,
Yep, a door hanger
but
might
no
also.
text or email.
Then maybe they don't have, depending on what you, so do you have a conduit?
My husband probably got the text and email.
Probably.
And he didn't.
So
That's what happened.
the first one might be a door hanger for the drop, to make sure you've coordinated the drop with you. But once the fiber got blown in and the fiber welded together, then you get an email or a text that says, hey, you're ready. And then you just have to log into the portal and select an internet service provider. I do find, and I would love to try to guide people what would be best for them. I will tell you, every one of those providers are good providers. We've vetted them. We know they're good ones. They do this well. Some are not necessarily the best for you. And one might be the best for you and another one might be the best for your neighbor. All of them are good. You can start with one and you can always change if you don't like it because it's easy to switch. Or should be easy to switch. You can get on the portal and just pick the different one and you'll go on to them. But a lot of people, I think that's one of the hangups is, well, how do we pick? And it's like picking whether you like US Postal Service, FedEx, or UPS. And if it really doesn't care, then it probably doesn't matter to you. Some of them, if you get with your neighbor or you test one out or something, you might find that you really like one over another, and eventually that migration will happen to some. So
They can also call and ask for a presentation of what they do.
From any of the ISPs.
From any of the
they can talk to any of the ISPs.
Not us.
So
No.
one of the ISPs will reach out. So
Bill will be right over.
so anyway, I apologize. I've dug deep into the fiber, but that's kind of a general one, and I think there is enough questions that I hope spending some time on it has actually helped the public if they do, or anybody else have that. So
And I had a caveat to that. Having had internet or fiber now in my house for 7 months now or 8 months. One thing we have learned is the routers are different than what you experience with Comcast or others. Routers tend to route in a plane versus Comcast was a broadcast. These tend to route in a plane, at least the ones we've experienced. We had to come and have them relocate our routers, and they had to put booster routers throughout our house because we have a split level home. And so you have to be thinking now, when you have an ISP provider come in, be prepared to discuss with them the best location. It may not be where you've had it before, but the best location, so that you can have your router distribute to the areas and levels of your home to get the best reception. We've played with that now quite a bit and it was kind of a learning curve for our provider to know how our house would respond, because metal affects it. So if you got ducting work that goes through your floors and ceilings and you're trying to go through that, it affects it. So you want to make sure that you try and get it in a location that's going to serve you the very best.
Agreed. Agreed.
But they should be, most of them should be up to speed now, and so.
Hope so. But
Well, every house is different. That's the problem. When they enter a home, they have to know what you want, where you want it, so that they can explain it to you and put it in your best location.
and a lot of the older routers aren't capable of doing the speeds at which this service will provide. So a lot of people will actually replacing routers is a common one because old routers or other services just don't have the ability to provide this level of service that
We couldn't even use our routers. They all had to be removed and new routers.
because they were old enough that they just wouldn't get the data through it that fast.
I couldn't handle it.
So, other questions?
And one more on water. Go back to the water.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned about the proposed legislation. And I just want to mention it. Of appropriating the large amount of money they have to buy water rights for the Great Salt Lake. Because once that water enters Great Salt Lake, it's dead water for any other purpose other than supplying the Great Salt Lake. Now, I don't want to see the Great Salt Lake dried up. That's not my intent at all. But it's kind of like in Providence City. Every time you sell a pipe full of water, you got to supply it for the rest of as long as that pipe exists. You've got to supply it because you sold it. If you take the water rights from the public and put it in the Great Salt Lake, I hope they're considering provisions if they need that water for growth, that they can take it back out of the Salt Lake and do what they need to do. I don't think they're thinking far enough ahead, but I don't know. But that is a big concern I have because once it goes into the Great Salt Lake, it's dead water for culinary and
It's not the only bill. There's a lot of bills to try to save the Great Salt Lake, and I think many of them go too far. One talks about reuse, keep in mind that oftentimes car washes do a reuse process, and if we couldn't permit another reuse system, just imagine that if
Means you have to use new water.
yeah,
Means you have to use more new water.
right. And they're trying to get as much water to the Great Salt Lake to fill it back as they can. And there's a lot of legislation on it.
Well, most of the bills about the water that they want to buy up water rights, guess where it's going to come from? Cache Valley and Box Elder. That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll be giving up our water to fill the lake. The rest of the state won't.
Well, and that's what makes, again, me so happy about the relationship with Spring Creek Irrigation Company and Providence City. They won't get a chance to use that water right as long as we keep it in good use.
Right.
Productive use. And that just
Beneficial use is what it's called.
beneficial use. It just makes me so happy that got worked out. I mean, I can't express how much appreciation I have that's been taken care of.
Yeah.
So I've texted Casey about this, and interestingly, the CacheValleyDaily.com, that #1 headline is a picture of him, local legislator trying to balance valley needs with ecological needs of Great Salt Lake. And I think he needs to remember that he's representing us.
So
And so
Casey.
reach out to him.
Reach out to him. He's really good to take those calls and to read your texts. He wants you to do that. And Senator Wilson is our senator. Text him, call him.
I would sooner see us them lease water to put into the Great Salt Lake and let people retain their shares of water, let cities retain their shares of water. Lease is something that you can terminate.
It's reversible.
It isn't a total commitment.
I think it's a wonderful idea. If you have some time Friday afternoon, we're going to meet with Casey and Chris, and I'd love to have you come. We're gonna leave here about 8:30 and we'll be back.
And we need a school bus.
It's all flat, there's no hills.
Okay, we would love to have you come and we're gonna meet with them. And so anyway, but there's a few of us that are going and it's just kind of anyway, we'd love to have you. If anybody else want, or if, and they can drive vehicle with some teenage kids.
Is it this Friday?
Yes. Yes, did you have an interest in coming to the
Or a
Capitol with
van.
or a van to drive?
Man. Was thinking about that. Should do it.
So,
That'll be a great opportunity for our kids because
we've got a
the
van you can drive.
interns are going to talk to them about how they got to be an intern. So these young people will have an opportunity to learn what they might be able to do if they wanted to be an intern. So
But to see their council members working
Show
with
up,
their legislators and helping to push that legislation, those kids, I think that would be a great experience for them to see.
And lunch is included.
And we'll feed you lunch. Yeah. Anyway, I planted a seed. You gotta help that grow. If you can, anyway.
thank you so much.
All right. Anything else covered? I certainly appreciate you. Please know that I appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do for me. The appreciation you have. That's very kind of you. And thank you. Thanks for the job I have. I really do enjoy serving you and the public of Providence. So thank you.
And the great staff we have.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do this.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Oh, good.
We have a generous gift here from
Michael Fortune.
Michael Fortune. He brought us
This is
all.
Caleb, his son.
And Caleb delivered a crumble cookie for each of us.